Hey there, and welcome to another Make It Monday for PapertreyInk. This is Betsy Veldman, and today I'm going to show you how to create a striped effect with heat embossing. It basically combines heat embossing and masking together into the same technique. So let's get started. Alright, to do this, you're going to need a few different colors of embossing powders. I am using the Zing powders. I've chosen 3 colors. And you'll need a Versamark ink pad and some post-it notes. There are 1,000,001 uses for post-it notes in your craft room, and this is just another one of those. For this technique today, I'm going to be using the thank you stamp from the Wonderful Words Thank You set. I have a piece of craft cardstock here, which I already stamped with the Autumn Pattern Prints background. It's kind of a plaid stamp. I stamped that with Classic Craft ink and let that dry. And then I'm just going to ink up my thank you stamp here with Versamark. And I have it on my grid block so I can be sure that I'm getting it nice and straight. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that onto my cardstock. Alright, so it's a little hard to see because obviously it's done with the Versamark, but I'm going to now take a post-it note, and if I have to find my sentiment here, and I'm going to layer the post-it note over the stamped image, and I'm going to line up my post-it note along the left edge there so I can be sure that I'm getting it straight, and I'm letting just a bit of the sentiment, the top portion of the sentiment, stick out above this post-it note. And my one post-it note wasn't quite wide enough, so I'm going to add a second one there. And then I'm going to take my first color of embossing powder, make sure that's nice and stuck down there so that you don't get any embossing powder seeping under the edge. I'm going to start out with the red, and I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that right on the top of my stamped sentiment. Shake off that excess. And I would really recommend pouring your powder back in its jar and then closing the lid. I have had it multiple times when I'm using different colors of embossing powder that I'll pour it into the wrong jar, so just close them up when you're finished. So now I'm going to pull off the post-it notes, and you can see here where the embossing powder just covered that top portion of the sentiment. And you'll get a little bit of the embossing powder might stick to your post-its, so just go ahead and brush that off before you move on and do the next color. So now we're going to do the same thing again, and this time I'm going to move the post-it down just a little bit further so that a little bit more of that sentiment is exposed. And then I'm going to just do the same thing with the second color of powder. This is the orange. And you don't have to worry about that getting on the red because that portion is already covered with the embossing powder, so your orange powder isn't going to stick to it. Alright, we'll just put that back in its jar, pull off the post-its, and now I'm just doing 3 colors now, so for this last step I can get rid of my post-it notes. I don't need those anymore. If you want to do 4 colors, you just keep going on down the line until you're at the bottom of your image that you want to emboss. I'm just going to finish it off with the yellow. And see, now I have kind of a neat gradient effect. And if you need to do any cleaning up, I just like to use a little paintbrush and brush away some of those stray flakes of embossing powder. Once in a while, that post-it note will leave just a little bit of residue behind, and the embossing powder might stick to that, so just have a little paintbrush or something handy to brush some of that excess off. Then we can just go ahead and heat it up. And this technique, I'm using a sentiment stamp here today, but the same idea would work on just about any image that you would want to use it on. Okay, so I'm back and I'm finished heating. It is completely embossed. It's kind of a cool effect. Alright, so now we're going to finish off the card. I have an orange zest card base that I'm going to adhere this panel to. Alright, and then I have some die cut leaves. This is from the Meadow Green set. And I have already die cut those and stamped the images on there just to save us a little time today on the video. And I'm just going to adhere those with a little bit of foam tape. I chose ink colors to coordinate with my embossing powders that I used. This could be also really beautiful with metallic powders. You could play around with lots of different effects. Alright, one more leaf, and I'm going to adhere this one down on the bottom. Nestle that Y from the thank you right in the crook of the leaf. And then I'll just go ahead and trim off a little bit of excess that overhangs the edge on that one and also on the top. Alright, and that does it. That finishes off our card. It's just a very quick technique that it's kind of fun. So I hope you enjoyed today's Make It Monday, and I hope you get a chance to play around with it this week. Thanks for joining me. This has been Betsy Veldman for Papertrey Ink.